Wicked. For Good is the second part of John M. Chu's cinematic Wicked adaptation, drawn from the events of the Broadway production of the same name. The first movie was a huge success, receiving several nominations at the Academy Awards, and was widely accepted by the theater community for its unwavering loyalty to the original production. The film even includes a dual cameo from Kristin Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, who originally played Glinda and Elphaba on Broadway. However, it's been confirmed that these Broadway stars won't return in Wicked, for good. Instead, the second movie will be a much darker and more character-driven expansion of Elphaba and Glinda's storylines, gradually building towards their rivalry in The Wizard of Oz. The first Wicked movie did an excellent job of setting up the complex dynamic between these two characters, and Wicked, for Good will complicate this relationship even further through political turmoil and personal conflicts. With some new character decisions and major musical changes in Wicked, for Good, it's important that the film doesn't distract itself with more cameos. Although it's disappointing that Menzel and Chenoweth aren't going to appear in the second part of the Wicked movie adaptation, it's ultimately the right decision. The pair already had their special moment in the first movie, and another cameo would dilute the effect of the first one. It was thrilling to see their faces in the Emerald City again, but bringing them back in Wicked, for Good runs the risk of it feeling forced and undoing much of the goodwill that their first cameo inspired among longtime fans of the Broadway production. Menzel and Chenoweth's cameos in Wicked are fun because they're not distracting or jarring. General audiences who don't know the history of the Broadway show wouldn't have been confused by their appearance, because they're simply included as additional characters. If they came back in Wicked for Good, those same audiences may begin to question why these seemingly unimportant figures are back again, distracting them from the overall story of the sequel. Additionally, there is a sense of passing the torch in Wicked that makes Menzel and Chenoweth's cameos impactful. Seeing the original Broadway stars alongside Grande and Erivo is a very touching moment, letting them say goodbye to these characters while introducing the new generation's Elphaba and Glinda. This effect would be lessened if Menzel and Chenoweth came back in Wicked, for Good, implying that the torch has not been fully passed. If Grande and Erivo are to be fully accepted as the new Elphaba and Glinda, the upcoming sequel should never lose its focus on their success. These two actresses need to be entirely in the spotlight for this movie to work, especially since the second half of this narrative is so expressly focused on their dynamic as friends turned enemies. The first half is very fast-paced and plot-heavy, so there was some room to include Menzel and Chenoweth without undermining the new actresses, but For Good is such an obvious character study that they'd simply feel out of place. The story of Wicked. For Good is much darker and more intense, so it makes sense that both Erivo and Grande could be pushed to new heights by the emotional stakes of the story. Both delivered brilliant performances in Wicked, but this sequel has all the potential needed to elevate them further. Whether it's the new musical numbers, the complex political rivalries, or the heartbreaking character drama, there's so much happening in Wicked, for Good, that it simply doesn't make sense to take away from Grande and Erivo's inevitably fierce performances with more lighthearted cameos.